This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, an Otago Boys pupil arrived back from Auckland this morning and is understood to have breached COVID travel rules. Women who've migrated to New Zealand and settled in Dunedin are expressing their creative sides. And art lovers in Ashburton are in for a real treat as a new exhibition opens its doors. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Sophie Morris. Otago Boys High School is seeking to reassure parents after a pupil breached COVID-19 lockdown regulations by travelling from Auckland to Dunedin without an exemption. The Otago Daily Times understands police are investigating the breach.
A pupil who breached COVID-19 regulations arrived in Dunedin from Auckland this week. Otago Boys High School Rector Richard Hall emailed parents today saying a pupil who showed up for class this week is now isolating and returned a negative COVID-19 test this morning. Richard Hall says the school has sought advice from the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education as well as police. The Ministry of Health has advised the school they consider the pupil a low risk as he's not presenting any symptoms and hasn't visited any of the places of interest in Auckland or the Waikato region. The school says the pupil travelled from his home in Auckland, where he'd been since the lockdown began, to Dunedin on Friday, stayed with family for the weekend and spent Sunday night at the school's hostel. He arrived at school for first period Monday morning, roughly the same time as the school was advised the pupil may not have had a travel exemption. The school has received advice from the Ministry of Health that it and the hostel can run as it has been under Level 2. Richard Hall says support is available for parents and students if they require it, and he says they should contact the school. The Otago Daily Times has sought comment from Otago Boys High School. In Dunedin, the South Today.
More than 40 heritage buildings across Dunedin have benefited from the City Council's funding of $750,000 over the last year. Recipients this year include $40,000 towards the A&T Burt building on Cumberland Street, $50,000 for the McVickers building on Moray Place, and $40,000 towards the Otago Education Board offices on Crawford Street. The grants have come out of the City Council's Heritage Fund, covering about 10% of the total cost of each project. The fund credits itself as having helped over $6 million of heritage restorations get over the line. Women migrants are being given the chance to express themselves through art thanks to a University of Otago pilot program. Currently the art classes are limited to just 8, but organisers are hoping to get extra funding to expand the project.
Dr. Pune Turabian is looking at how art can help immigrants from foreign cultures settle and integrate into New Zealand society. She's recently set up some art classes through the University of Otago's Centre for Global Migrations, helping a trial group of 8 women who recently immigrated to New Zealand socialise and express themselves through art.
What was neat about this was that we connected with artists from the community. So we had 4 workshops so far, and we had 4 different artists from the community, each helping women, to tell their stories of migration, resettlement, integration into their new communities through arts.
The classes have covered everything from drawing and painting to needlework and making cushion covers. Dr. Turabian says because language is a barrier, art can be an alternative way for migrants to express themselves, with some having grown up in a culture that discouraged them from doing art when they were young.
Some of the women in our workshops, they didn't even know how to write their names in English. But I could see that they were really engaged, and they really connected to the way that the workshops were running.
Dr. Turabian says the workshops are also helping migrant women from countries such as Afghanistan to do something for themselves for once.
Women are usually the ones who are responsible for the chores at home, and the workshops were giving them an opportunity to focus on themselves and do something for themselves.
It's hoped the art workshops can obtain funding to expand and take in other migrant women who are living in the region. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Work on demolishing the largest workshop of KiwiRail's South Dunedin Hillside Workshops is set to start this week. Specialist contractors are to start tearing down the 17-metre high building on Hillside Road in South Dunedin. KiwiRail says that while the nearly 100-year-old fabrication shop has a treated history, its age and dilapidated condition means it's no longer fit for use. The new mechanical workshop will allow up to 20 locomotives, wagons or carriages to be worked on at a time. The new site is expected to be operational in 2 years' time. Art lovers in Ashburton are invited to have a look at a Wellington-based sculptor's vision of what alien worlds might look like. But artist Elizabeth Thompson says her creations often have eerie resonances to scenes she's seen on planet Earth.
The Ashburton Art Gallery is exhibiting Wellington-based sculptor Elizabeth Thompson's vision as to what planets outside our own solar system might look like.
And they used photographic imagery of satellite images taken from space of parts of the Earth, and then work on them quite a bit.
Made from fiberglass and resin, the discs show clouds swirling across the globe orbiting a distant sun. But Thompson's found she's created art that has a surprising resonance with similar-looking scenes here on planet Earth.
The images I choose, sometimes I find later that I've taken photographs elsewhere in the world, like in palaces in India or deserts and sunsets and things like that, and I actually often find some relationships between the works, which I find amazing. So it's often afterwards that I kind of realise the connections or why I've chosen a particular image.
As for many artists, the period of enforced self-introspection during last year's lockdown has had an influence on her art.
I actually thought about doing these when during lockdown in Wellington, and I'd made planets before and often looked at the white wall as a sort of a void, and so they had a great sense of distance, like using the white wall to create that kind of like never-ending, infinite sort of space. But during the lockdown period, it felt like I needed to bring them into the room more, so you could actually feel them, so they became more of a presence. And I feel here at the Ashburton Art Gallery, they really do that, and they have make the most amazing, I feel actually affected by them.
Thompson's Cellular Memories exhibition has been touring the country for the last 2 years and is on at the Ashburton Art Gallery until the end of October. In Ashburton, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, Groundswell announces its next protest, and we hear from the Chief Executive of the new Southern organisation Business South. We'll see you after the break.
All new episodes of Put Some Colour in Your Life are now screening on Channel 39. Take a look at Australian artists and the techniques they use in their studio. Put Some Colour in Your Life, Tuesdays, 7:30.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Sharpen up! My mate John sharpened his pencil this weekend. He's taken 19% off lamp and coffee tables and a whopping 50% off Optima beds. Plus there's tons more deals in store. So sharp, you'll cut yourself. No one beats John on price. Sharpen up! This weekend only at John's Furniture Warehouse, Stafford Street.
Where did you get that furniture from? Stafford Street. And my mate John.
Welcome back. Groundswell New Zealand has announced its next protest will be held on Sunday, the 21st of November. In July, convoys of thousands of tractors and utility trucks took part in a protest against what the rural sector says are unworkable government regulations that are impacting the rural sector. The group gave the government a month to address its issues with a threat of further action. This time, supporters are being asked to travel into their local town, big or small, to be there at 1 p.m. The government has previously said it's listening to farmers and has heard the concerns raised. New Southern organisation Business South has confirmed its official name. The title has come from the amalgamation of the Otago Chamber of Commerce and the Otago Southland Employers Association. Mike Collins is the inaugural Chief Executive of the organisation and caught up with Daryl Baser via Zoom.
Kia ora, Mike. So Business South combines around 300 years of history. How has the merger gone?
Oh, thanks for that, Daryl. Yeah, it's going really well, actually. I've probably been in the role for about 7 weeks now, and it's been extremely busy just pulling together all the loose threads in terms of what you need to do to get two organisations merged. But it's going really, really well. The team have been really positive. All the members that we've been working with really understand the purpose of the merger and they've been right behind it. So overall, there's been a lot of work going on the last 7 weeks just to get things right. But at this stage, we're pretty much lined up nicely for the 1st of October. So that's involved a lot of work around getting our new brand together, which we'll get to see in draft form on Thursday. But most importantly, what's important for members. So overall, it's going pretty smoothly at the moment.
Pretty smoothly is always good, but progress like this can ruffle some feathers. Has there been any less than favourable feedback?
Not particularly. I think because the process has been going on for a long time. I mean, before I came into the role, the merger had been talked about for probably almost a year. So I think at the beginning there was obviously, to get a consensus on a merger is a difficult thing, and I think there probably were some murmurs. But I think over time people are probably understanding the value proposition more. The feedback I'm getting really is just people wanting to understand what does the value proposition look like. And when they do understand the benefit of Business New Zealand and the benefit of the Chamber together from a services perspective, they really get it.
Both workforces have had, a good number of people working for them. Will there be any rationalisation of the workforces?
Yeah, so I'm just working through the structure side of things at the moment. There isn't any rationalisation of staff in terms of at this stage. And that's mainly because there are a few vacancies in both organisations that the board haven't necessarily replaced straight away. So that gives us an opportunity to make sure we're playing to the team's strengths, and we're basically looking at people's current roles and mapping those across to what the new organisation requires. So for example, we're still going to be running training and events. We're still running legal services, a lot of advocacy work, and there are people in those roles that naturally map across to the new organisation nicely.
October 1st is the go date. How will that affect the day-to-day running of both teams?
Well, we're trying to make it a bit seamless, to be honest. From a practical perspective, it won't be much change. I mean, their employment agreements will be with Business South, so they'll be working with a new entity. From a day-to-day runnings, they'll still have their current responsibilities. the websites of both organisations, our kind of front door will merge into one come the 1st of October with a new look and feel, but it'll link off to the services of the previous two organisations as one. So we're trying to make it as seamless as possible from a member's perspective, and also less disruptive for our team, our staff, because they've been through a lot over the last year. So we're not trying to make too much radical change for them on day one.
So the Chamber's been in its building for many years, and likewise the Otago Southland Employees Association. Where is the new office going to be based?
Oh, in terms of office location, everyone asks me that question. It's a good one. So look, we've got a lease in Moray Place that a lot of people are aware of at the moment, and we want to work with that lease. So at the moment, and it's really important for me from a team culture perspective that we co-locate our staff. So we're having conversations with the teams at the moment around co-locating staff in the offices in the Moray Place, in the Public Trust building. But we're also recognising that our legal team, also their clients don't necessarily want to come into town. So we're looking at options to respect our members where they don't want to come into a very public space for obvious reasons, for different matters. So we're trying to accommodate a space for our legal team and services that's more discreet, I guess you'd say.
What innovations are in the wind for the joined organisations?
Yeah, so innovations is a space I really want to get my head into with the team. And I guess that I'll break it down into two areas. The first is about the here and now. So there are a whole lot of new services we get from partnering up with Business New Zealand around training programs, events, access to ministers through advocacy channels, access to online support services for legal. We naturally get those services from joining the Business New Zealand partnership. So our job will be to, I guess the words lift and shift, copy that information and material from other regions and play that out to our members here. And then we're in parallel to that, we're doing a bit of a strategy refresh, as you'd expect. And rather than going out to members and asking surveys, we actually do have quite a lot of knowledge around what members want for the future. So we're putting a draft together, and that'll go out to stakeholders for feedback around future services. And that's where you'll see things like, for example, we want to we hear from members there's a need for a lot of support around digital for the future. So what do next generation services look like to help leverage a business to go better, faster, quicker using technology? So where can we help in that space? So we're hoping to broaden some of our services to really what the businesses need of the future.
That all sounds very positive. Business South Chief Executive Mike Collins, many thanks for your time.
Thanks very much.
After the break on the South today, ski fields are feeling the impact of lockdowns and travel restrictions, and we take a look at the weather.
All new episodes of Put Some Colour in Your Life are now screening on Channel 39. Take a look at Australian artists and the techniques they use in their studio. Put Some Colour in Your Life, Tuesdays, 7:30.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Sharpen up! My mate John sharpened his pencil this weekend. So sharp, you'll cut yourself. No one beats John on price. This weekend only at...
And my mate John.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
Hey, what have you got? Okay. Chicks World, party time, excellent. Love it! Chicks World! Chicks World! Right.
Welcome back. Lockdown and the stop to the Trans-Tasman bubble has had a devastating impact on southern ski fields, leading to more than $3 million in wage subsidy claims. The main difference between this lockdown and last year's was that operators were fully resourced and expecting a busy season servicing the Australian and Auckland markets. But following the rapid loss of both markets, fields saw a huge drop in profits. The region's ski fields are now claiming a wage subsidy for a total of almost 2,000 staff. Ski fields were able to reopen under Level 2 restrictions 12 days ago. Now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. An Otago Boys pupil arrived back from Auckland this Monday and is understood to have breached COVID travel rules. Women who've migrated to New Zealand and settled in Dunedin are expressing their creative sides. And art lovers in Ashburton are in for a treat as a new exhibition opens its doors. And now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome, Craig.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We've got obviously more on this possible breach by an Otago Boys high school pupil. He managed to arrive back to school from Auckland this week. We understand police are investigating the possible breach. Lots of questions about how it happened. Not all of them have been answered as yet, as you can imagine. People have been in Auckland since lockdown and arrived back in the city on Friday and was back in the hostel on Sunday night as well. So I know the newsroom had quite a few calls from concerned people today about the situation, so that's kind of what alluded to us initially as well. So yeah, we've got lots of questions into the school to see really where it goes from here. He's now self-isolating and has had a COVID test. It's been described by the ministry, which we've been told by the principal, as a low risk, but still, yeah, lots of concerns there. So yeah, we'll find out more in coming days, no doubt about that. There's also concerns about the impending demolition of a glass administration building down at Port Otago. It's quite distinctive as you drive in on the left there. The company's saying it's no longer fit for purpose and they're going to be building a new admin block, so that's going to go. But some in architectural circles are saying that it needs to be protected, needs to be looked after. Apparently only one of two buildings with in that style with a glass facade like that in the country, so right. I guess it does have some significance. They're saying it's outlived its purpose and time to move on. So yeah, our fresh pages, lots in those tomorrow, 3 pages of that. We look at occasional wear. Not that there's many occasions to wear much these days, but yeah, fingers crossed that'll change in summer. So I guess what to wear and when, so a big full page display on that. September's also Bee Aware Month, and we've got an article on how to create bee-friendly backyards. Coincidentally, we've also got an opinion piece on and the importance of bees in our backyards in Dunedin. Some suggestions they may be reviewed as part of Council's new regulations. But yeah, so there's a big push there to keep bees in your backyard, and we've also got a couple of recipes with honey-infused ingredients. So we timed that quite nicely. And just finally with sport, we continue our build-up to the big weekend's rugby test between the All Blacks and South Africa. 100th test between the teams and 100 years of rugby, so was supposed to be here. You might have even been singing.
It was meant to be here,
yeah.
Right.
So yeah, we take a look back at 10 of the great Springbok All Black matches. So plenty of reading in that, so well worth picking up tomorrow's paper.
All right, wonderful, jam-packed. Thank you, Craig. And now time for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the southern view, Dunedin Cenotaph at Queen's Gardens under a leaden sky. Looking at the situation, a low pressure system is edging towards the North Island, but should stay away from southern districts with light westerly airflow. Starting at the northwest of the South Island, rain and 13 degrees for Greymouth and Westport. To the northeast, rain here as well with 15 degrees in Nelson and 13 in Blenheim. To Canterbury, showers and 13 degrees in Kaikoura, partial cloud for Christchurch and Ashburton with 19 degrees in Christchurch, 15 in Ashburton. To the southern towns, light westerlies, mostly cloudy and 14 degrees for the Catlins, Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore. To the Central Lakes, light winds and cloud with 15 degrees for Queenstown, Wanaka and Alexandra, while Tiano can expect 14 degrees. To the northern towns, light winds and cloudy on the coast with 15 degrees in Timaru and Oamaru. Inland, light winds, some cloud and 16 degrees for Twizel and Marama. In Dunedin, showers clearing tonight with southwesterlies developing and a low of 8. Cloudy and rather cool tomorrow with southwesterly winds dying out, tending northeast, a high of 14 and a low of 8. Cloudy again on Thursday with moderate northeasterlies, a high of 15 and a low of 8. And in Invercargill, becoming fine with a low of 9 tonight. Cloudy and dry tomorrow and Thursday with moderate westerly winds. Wednesday set for a high of 14 and a low of 9, and the same on Thursday, a high of 14 and a low of 9. That's all for our news this Tuesday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz or follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.